Hey guys, so back to this saga with the El Paso County, Texas Sheriff's Office with the bogus failure to ID citation that I got back in March of 2020. This will be chapter 4 of this whole thing. The chapter 3 video that I made was the one that cameras everywhere picked up and supercharged for me, so that was great. But now we're on to the body camera video that's directly from Deputy GAULDIN. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I can't recall his badge number off the top of my head, but anyway, he's the one that wrote the official report, and I don't know what he was thinking or how many times he's done this and gotten away with it before, but he wrote a lot of false statements in there. And then also one of my subscribers, I'll post it up later exactly which one, but one of the subscribers noticed something that I didn't even notice, that he actually even put down the wrong race. Now, obviously, I'm not a white person. I'm not a white man, and he put me down as white. And I don't think that was an accident. I think that that was done deliberately as well. I don't know exactly why, but I feel that there was some reason that that was done so that he could avoid race being a factor in some way. So there's just a lot of shady stuff that went on with this stop. That's why I keep on making more and more videos about it, even though it happened over or almost a year ago now. But it's just a really good example of how, you know, someone like me can record traffic stops, and then weeks and months later, these guys will come up with this plot to try to come after me. And when I say me, I mean people like me. I mean, obviously this happened to me, but I'm sure that there's plenty of other people around the country that film the police or film government buildings or do and say things that the government doesn't like, and the government tries to come after them somehow, some way. So anyway, here's the video. I'm gonna have to split it up into at least 2 parts because it's approximately 40 minutes long, and I know that a lot of people don't have time to watch a video that long, and they can't keep their attention span, not even because they got ADD or anything, but, people got kids, they got things to do. So anyway, I'm going to be splitting this video up, and as you probably guessed, if you've watched my channel, I bounce around. I mean, one video could be something about open records, the next one could be filming a traffic stop. So, as time progresses throughout 2021, we'll just go through more and more about this traffic stop that happened to me back in 2020. And the reason it's so important is because it deals with Texas Penal Code 38.02, which, as we all know, ever since that law was written in Texas back in the 80s, or I think it was written in either the 60s or the 80s. I mean, it's been around for a minute. And just the police either willfully disregard it, or they're just ignorant and they just can't get it. They don't have the aptitude to grasp what Texas Penal Code 38.02 means and what the law actually is. Whether it's someone who is, refusing to ID during an investigative detention and they haven't been charged with a crime yet, which means there's no probable cause yet. And that's the line in the sand right there. If there's no probable cause, then you don't have to ID. Now, police throughout the state will continue to tell someone, and sometimes in a not very nice way, they'll already put some handcuffs on them or put them in the back of a car. They'll say, well, hey, we're investigating this. What we're doing is important. We're looking into, it could be anything. It could be a murder. I mean, it could be something very serious. But at the end of the day, no matter what their investigation is about, what these police officers need to understand, and I think that a lot of them do, but they just try to play it off like they don't know, or some of them are just outright malicious and they just disregard the law, knowing that they will be protected by the system, qualified immunity and all that. But at the end of the day, no matter how strong the motive is for the police to do their investigative detention, until they have probable cause to arrest, in this state, in Texas, you do not have to ID. And a lot of police, a lot of law enforcement agencies, they don't want to hear that. They don't like that. And unfortunately, I don't think that this whole controversy with Texas Penal Code 38.02 is going to stop anytime soon. I mean, it's going to take a long time for these law enforcement agencies to really, truly get it and enforce it properly, because a lot of them, it's laziness in my opinion with a lot of them, because they literally will not read the law. I mean, there's the lieutenant at the Clint substation here for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. They have different substations around the county. Now, one of the people I spoke with was a lieutenant, not a sergeant, a lieutenant. So he's been around for quite a while. I don't know exactly how long, but he's a lieutenant. So there's no way he's been around for some short amount of time in the law enforcement community. So he's been around. And even when I tried explaining the law to him, he just would not. It was like speaking to a brick wall. He just said, well, we'll see what the judge says. It's like he couldn't even take the time to open the book and read it. Or he was playing it off like he didn't know, even though he did. Both are bad bad answers to this problem. If he's a lieutenant, he should definitely know a law as simple as Texas Penal Code 38.02.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You cut off. What was that again?
I said, in this state, this this is not a stop and ID state. So in this state, if someone is detained and there's not yet probable cause to arrest, in this state, you are not guilty of failure to ID until there's probable cause to arrest for a primary charge first.
If you're lawfully detained, yes, they're trying to ID you. Yes, you do have to ID. And I know where you're going with this, and maybe perhaps you want me to give you an answer that's I don't know, but yes, if you're lawfully detained, yes.
I mean, I just, once again, and I'm not going to keep you on the phone all day, but you're saying things that are not matching up with what is written by the legislature in Austin in the law books. That is not what the law says.
Okay. Like I said, sir, you got cited for failure to ID. All I can say is this, just like anybody else, if you disagree with what was done or how you got cited, obviously you have every opportunity to go present yourself before court and make your case. If the judge sees and sides with you, then so be it. There's nothing personal here. If they dismiss it, then so be it. If they don't, then so be it. Like I said, that citation was written. I'm not going to hear a second question. The deputy, he took action with what he needed to do. Obviously, when you signed it, they told you you're not saying that you're guilty, only that you're going to take care of it in court. Once you're in court, you take those arguments with the judge. If the judge deems on your side, then so be it. It gets dismissed, and we do away with it, and we move on. But it's not personal on my side, or I'm not taking. We cite many people every day, and like I said, it's you're explaining that you're not signing that you're guilty, only that you will present yourself in court and make a case for yourself. So that's all I can tell you. Is set it up for court, and ultimately, like I tell you, there's a lot of people we cite on a daily basis, and they don't necessarily agree with the citation they're getting. Not only failure to ID, but there's so many other stuff that we cite for. And again, we tell them the same thing. Set it up for court. If the judge sees it on your side, then so be it. I mean, let's just take it a little bit further. You go to court and the judge finds you guilty. I mean, what else is there? I mean, I guess you could challenge the judge's decision, but I mean, ultimately it gets played out in court, and we move. We take it from there. Whatever the judge decides, we move on. If you're not happy, then I mean, there's avenues that you can take for that. But that's where it stands right now. As far as if you believe the deputy, used excessive force or was not professional with you, we have an internal affairs unit that you can definitely go to and open up an investigation. I believe on the video, I think where you asked the sheriff himself told you, if you have a complaint or you have a concern, you need to file a complaint with Internal Affairs first, and then they'll look into it. So,
Right.
Because you put that video there, right? The one where you were asking the sheriff that question, and he specifically said, if you do have an issue or you have a concern or something that perhaps needs to be looked at, you're more than welcome and actually encouraged to file a complaint with Internal Affairs, and it will be looked into.
But one of the biggest issues right now is the fact that one of the deputies that detained me wrote a false statement in the affidavit that was submitted to the Justice of the Peace. And there was a false statement in there he intentionally put in there where he twisted the facts to make it look like I was, that I had not placed my phone on the top of the car as ordered, even when I did, because he was trying to portray me in a negative light, using his gun and badge, using his authority. So he abused his authority and he lied. And I don't know what the El Paso County Sheriff's Office Internal Affairs is trying to say by saying that never happened, but they're just being blind, I guess.
El Paso County, Texas Sheriff's Office, EPCSO, ATTN, EPCSO Internal Affairs Unit, ampersand, El Paso County, Texas Attorney's Office, Epcso. My name is Andre K. Lagergren. My residence is located in Horizon City, Texas. My cell phone number is 915 781 inches minus 4330. My email address is idon'tanswerquestions@gmail.com. My intention is to submit this written affidavit on April 15, 20, via email, to the EPCSO Internal Affairs Unit, to report a potential violation of Texas Penal Code Section 37.10, by EPCSO Deputy R. GAULDIN, 4136, Texas Penal Code, Title 8, Offenses Against Public Administration, Chapter 37, Perjury and Other Falsification, Sec 37.10, Tampering with Governmental Record.
Government records are among the most important in our society. In addition, government records which are true and accurate are essential to transparency and accountability. The Texas Penal Code offense of tampering with governmental record covers a wide variety of acts which would make such documents untrustworthy. First, according to the Penal Code, a person commits this offense if they knowingly make a false entry in or false alteration of a government record, or makes, presents, or uses any record, document, or thing with knowledge of its falsity and with intent that it be taken as a genuine record.
But enough of my rambling. We'll get on with this video. There's going to be a lot of things that you've probably seen before or heard before on my past videos regarding this traffic stop, but now you're going to see it from the angle of the actual officer that put the handcuffs on me and wrote the false statements in the investigation report. And his name is Deputy GAULDIN. I believe that's how he pronounces his last name. And he's a liar, and he knows it. And I don't think that he worked alone. I think that someone put him out. Someone else was over his shoulder in some way, either one or more, one person or a group of people. But at the end of the day, he's the one that put pen to paper. He's the one that typed the keys on the keyboard. And he knew what he was doing. And he put false statements in the investigation report, and he completely got away with it. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office refuses to hear anything about one of their deputies being a liar and writing false statements in an investigation report. They just close their ears, close their eyes, and the sheriff, he's just his usual way of doing things when there's something he doesn't want to hear or see is just to delegate it to somebody else and say, oh, well, you need to talk to him. You need to talk to him. And by that, I mean, he points people like me into the direction of internal affairs, where he says, oh, okay, well, you can't talk to me, even though I'm the sheriff. You need to talk to internal affairs. Well, the problem is your internal affairs sheriff, all they do is say, well, we don't see any misconduct. Now, they don't have any explanation why they don't see misconduct. They just simply blurt out, oh, well, we don't see any misconduct, even though I present concrete proof of false statements in the investigation report. Nobody wants to hear it. And all the people in power, as long as they can get away with it, they're cool with it. You know, so who knows how many people write false investigation reports at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. I'm not going to speculate that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's going on in plenty of other places. But the only proof that I have that it happened is with me at this traffic stop. And it's pretty flagrant. I mean, again, I don't know what this deputy was thinking. He probably thought, oh, well, nobody's ever going to see this. He's probably done it before. So it's like he wasn't even trying to cover his tracks. He just wrote false statements, even though that he knew that there was a video out there. I guess that all these deputies just assumed that I would never be able to get my hands on either the investigation report or the body cam video. I'm pretty sure they're very surprised I got my hands on the body cam video. But, you know, I'm a little bit smarter than I look. I'm not as stupid as I look. So I did get it. And that's what I try to do with many other law enforcement agencies around the country is I try to get body camera videos and written documents that law enforcement agencies and government agencies don't necessarily want to be released to the public. But it's the law. Freedom of information is the law in every state. It's a lot better in some states than others. But whether it's the states or the federal government, you know, I can't make any promises. Sometimes it's impossible to get this stuff, but oftentimes it can be done, and that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying to get something that, you know, that the public might want to see, that people out there might not realize is releasable to the public. So anyway, enough of my rambling. Here's the video. Here's the liar, Deputy GAULDIN. He's walking and driving around the county of El Paso County, Texas, with a badge and gun, and he's a liar. He writes false statements and investigation reports, at least against people he doesn't like me. That's not the way things are supposed to be. So he's just shameless. All of the people that support him and covered for him are shameless. He's wearing a badge of stolen valor, and there's plenty of others in his circle that are the same way. So that's how things are run here in El Paso County. It's not even that bad compared to many other cities around the country. And, you know, sorry if that's not what people want to hear, but that's just how things are done here. Shady stuff happens, and people just shrug their shoulders as long as the status quo is maintained. As long as it's someone that is like me, that's unpopular and, you know, doesn't have money and power and people don't care about, it's like, well, whatever. Just, you know, just keep it under wraps and this will all die down, you know. I mean, like I said, who knows how many times they do this, but I have the proof they did it to me. And I brought it up to the system. I brought it to internal affairs, and they completely just turned a blind eye to it and dismissed me like I was crazy, even though I had concrete proof. So it's just, it's a damn shame. But anyway, here's the video of the liar, and you can hear him try to convince me to give up my ID, even though I didn't legally have to, because he kept on trying to convince me that because he was conducting an investigative detention, that automatically meant that I should have to give my ID to him. So he calls himself a law enforcement officer, but he doesn't understand the law regarding, you know, the requirement to identify yourself in the state of Texas if you've been detained as a criminal suspect. So he needs to, at the very least, get some remedial training on Terry v. Ohio and Texas Penal Code 38.02 within the state of Texas, because he doesn't know what he's doing. And besides that, he's a liar. So I really don't think he should be going around this county with a badge and a gun. It's pretty dangerous. He's a pretty shady guy. So anyway, here's the video.
So you're making this a lot more difficult than it needs to be.
The Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution says I don't have to self-incriminate. You got that?
So you don't want to answer questions then, right, sir?
That's the Fifth Amendment.
Why are you yelling?
I'm yelling because you're not
So
fucking
what are you going to do? Why are you yelling?
Because you're not fucking getting it. I'm telling you what the Constitution
And I'm asking you for your ID.
And that's a question. I don't answer questions.
So give me your ID.
Well, I'm in handcuffs right now.
Give me your ID.
But I'm not under arrest. In this state, you have to be under arrest to be forced to identify.
Sir, you're being detained right now.
Right, that's right. And
all we asked was your name, sir. That's all we asked.
Texas Penal Code 3802.
So I'm getting this straight. You're refusing to identify yourself.
Because I'm not under arrest yet.
Are you refusing to identify yourself?
2001. I'm refusing to identify because in this state you do not have to identify if you're not.
Sir, that's not the way it goes.
Texas Penal Code 38. You need to read the law, sir.
Sir, what is your name and date of birth, please?
I am not answering that question. I don't answer questions.
Okay. We'll just place you under arrest for failure to ID.
That is not the law.
Let's go. Let's go.
Texas Eagle. 2046.
Stop reaching in your pockets.
Stop reaching.
I'm just pulling up my pants, man.
Step right here.
You need to read Texas Penal Code 3802.
You want to identify yourself?
Texas Penal Code 3802. You need to learn the law.
You're under arrest. Failure to ID.
That's not the law, man.
2047.
I'm not even trying to give you a hard time. That is not the law in this state.
Sir.
So if you're not trying to give me a hard time, so why don't you just provide your ID or your name and date of birth? All we do is just, and then you go on your way.
Deputy,
That's all it is.
Deputy,
That's all it is.
with all due respect, Deputy, I'm trying to live under the laws of this state and this country. In this state, Texas Penal Code 3802 says I do not have to identify.
If you are a suspicious vehicle in a building that's been closed for over 2 hours now, okay? You're sitting in front of a vehicle that's known for burglaries.
What burglaries? I didn't put burglaries.
I didn't say you did, burglarize. I said this area is known for burglaries. This is a store. It's been closed for over 2 hours. A lot that's been empty for over 2 hours.
Well, and I'm not saying you can't patrol. I'm not saying all that. All I'm saying is, all I did is I just pulled in. I was just checking the hours of the store.
Sir, if that's true, just to give us your name, and that's it. And we send you on your way.
I don't see why it has to be so difficult.
That's all it is. And we send you on your way. Whatever you were doing, you can go back and do whatever you're doing.
As you guys can tell, this is a big deal for me. I've dealt with this before.
Yes, sir.
And in this state,
and I've dealt with it before too.
We understand that, sir.
With all due respect, Texas Penal Code 3802 does not say what you are saying. I have to be lawfully under arrest for a primary charge. Texas Penal Code 3802 is a secondary charge.
Okay, sir. Okay, listen to the rationale. Do you understand that the store is closed, right?
Yes, and I have not committed a crime.
No, you have not.
It's a publicly accessible parking lot. I pulled in just now, just to check the hours.
Yes, and we're doing our job by finding out why it is that you're here.
That's a Terry stop.
If it's something else that we can help you with.
But in a Terry stop, I do not.
Not only that, but your car is full of boxes. How do we not know? Like I told you, this area is known for burglaries.
Okay, and you are doing a Terry stop. You can investigate all you want. I am not under obligation to answer questions. Now, if you take that as being rude, I apologize. But I'm not trying to disrespect you.
So all we're trying to identify is who we're dealing with.
I understand that. All the police have told me that all my life. But I am standing my ground. Texas Penal Code 3802 in this state is very liberal. And it says I do not have to identify unless I am under lawful arrest for a primary charge. That is Texas. You need to read Texas.
Being detained, sir.
No, sir. No, sir. You need to read Texas. I spoke with the sheriff himself. Texas Penal Code 3802. I have read this word for word. I know what I'm talking about. Now, this is a publicly accessible parking lot. I'm not trespassing. I drove into a publicly accessible parking lot. It's well lit. I didn't get out of the car. I wasn't walking around casing the windows like in Terry vs. Ohio in 1960.
Sir, we're not even saying that. We're going by and we see a vehicle parked at a place. It's a business that's been closed for over 2 hours.
And you have every right to come and investigate. That's a Terry stop.
That's exactly what we're doing. Is we're investigating.
This is a Terry stop.
Okay,
right.
so this is in the investigation.
And once I am,
this is part of the investigation.
Right, but that.
And find out who we're dealing with.
Okay, but you have to understand that you're overstepping your authority.
Are you going to provide your name and date of birth?
Sir, is it really necessary? You said you're going to provide it if you get under arrest. If you're under arrest, is it really necessary to go that far?
And my answer to that is you have to have a primary charge. What is the primary charge?
Failure to ID, sir.
No, failure to ID cannot be a primary charge.
Investigation.
Sir, failure to ID is a secondary charge. I'm telling you. Unless you're saying I'm trespassing or burglarizing, unless you have a primary charge, failure to ID cannot be a primary charge. It is a secondary charge. I'm dead certain.
Can you 3832 Mark Jason?
Finish calling it out or what?
Call it out?
They had a lot of traffic.
Everything's
I'm
close for
about to do it now.
Needed assistance with a supplement. Gonna connect to the coffee now.
2350?
I'm George 51.
So is it necessary to go that far, sir?
George 51?
We're not harassing you. We're patrolling our area. Please listen to what I'm saying.
I'm not arguing with that part.
We're patrolling our area.
I'm not arguing.
We're trying to. It's crime suppression. Okay, you didn't commit a crime.
Thank you for your service. I'm not arguing with that.
And like my partner said, you're here in a parking lot. This is for a business that's been closed for 2 hours.
First one's
Okay, we roll up. We see a vehicle here.
Yes.
Edward,
see boxes
Edward
in there.
Nora, date of birth
That's fine.
2000, 0311.
And all we ask, we're just going to check you and then send you on your way.
The Fourth Amendment protects me from unreasonable searches and seizures.
We're not searching you, sir.
My papers and effects. My papers is my driver's license. My papers. You understand? The Fourth Amendment protects my papers.
Your ID is issued by the state.
My ID is considered a paper. The lawyers and courts have decided that.
Then we can decide in court. Okay, we're not in court right now.
So you're going to punish me by putting me through the process I shouldn't have to go through. That is not what you swore an oath to. Texas Penal Code 3802 is a secondary charge.
Checking a vehicle, 15061 Horizon. Oh, Texas King Tom Paul, 2801.
But it's not necessary to go that far, sir.
Also, get a history on that 28.
Well, a guy like me it is. Okay? I don't think you've dealt with someone like me before. And I've had too many problems. That's why I left the state of Louisiana. Because they have a charge there called resisting an officer where I've been arrested many times.
Well, see, right now is you're interfering with our duties.
Oh, no.
You know?
Texas Penal Code 38.15.
Okay,
I've already been arrested for that. I already know about that one too.
I know you have.
Okay, so you already know me.
Huh? I don't know you. I don't know what your name and date of birth is.
Well,
if I knew that, then I'd have already had it and I'd have run it.
All right.
So if you're not going to provide that,
what I want to see is, I want to see if you have a primary charge to arrest me for before you...
Primary charge.
Primary charge?
I don't need a primary charge.
Yes, sir, you do. I'm not trying to be hard with you. I'm trying to live by the law here. That is the law in this state.
You're making it a lot more difficult than it has to be.
You know what? They all say that.
Well, it's true, sir. It is true.
But you have to understand.
We're here checking the business. You're in a business that's closed. Okay? So when you see us pull up, but then you try to take off.
No, I didn't try to take off. I was actually leaving because I'm like, oh, well, I guess that they're thinking maybe I'm trying to do something here. You got the wrong idea. I wasn't trying to take off.
See, you know what, sir? We don't know that. I don't know you. We don't know what you're here for. You understand?
Right.
So all we're doing is just checking it. If you check okay, send you on your way. Wherever it is you're gonna go do. If you're collecting boxes, then so be it. So be it.
Where do they run this up to?
No, I wasn't collecting boxes. I have those boxes from other places.
That's fine.
Oh, that's negative.
All we want to do is just check you and send you on your way, sir. That's all we're trying to do. That's reasonable, don't you think?
I understand where you're coming from. But you have to understand, this is a big deal for me. I do not have to ID unless I'm being arrested for a primary charge.
We're in no way trying to harass you.
So you need to understand what the legislature in Austin has written in Texas Penal Code 3802 is that unless I am under a lawful arrest, that means there has to be a primary charge.
14716 Horizon Drive in Horizon City.
Then I can be charged with Texas Penal Code 3802 violation if once under arrest at the jailhouse I refuse to ID. That is the law.
Approximately 25 to 30 years of retention.
I understand you may have issues in the past as far as people being confronted by officers, but we're not trying to confront you, sir. We're just you weren't walking on the street. You weren't on the street.
This isn't anything personal, okay?
Okay.
I don't think that you're harassed. I actually believe you're doing your job. This is Terry vs. Ohio, 1968. You are patrolling. You have the lawful authority to have a police presence, come up to a building that's, empty and be like, hey, what's going on here? Everything you're doing is lawful up to the point where you're demanding my ID.
We asked you, sir.
Okay, but you're asking me with handcuffs. That's coercion, okay? Now I'm under.
Sir, we asked you prior to putting the handcuffs on you. You escalated it to this point.
I did not escalate. I refused to answer questions under the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment allows me to not answer questions. That is the United States Constitution. You have to understand, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm living within the bounds of the law here. I understand that you think that I'm being disrespectful or hard to deal with, but that is the law, sir. This is the law of the land. Okay, both of you took an oath to the laws of the United States and the state of Texas. I know these particular laws by heart because I've dealt with this situation many times. Now, unless you actually are charging me with trespassing, or burglary, or something like that, there is no primary charge. I do not have to ID.
So you really want to take it that far, sir?
You have to understand, Deputy, that this is way bigger than just what's going on tonight. This has been a lifelong issue for me. And that's why I moved to this state. Because in this state, I do not have to ID unless I'm under arrest for a primary charge.
So this is a small part we pay in lifetime.
Return on Texas BL 2670-8697, Class C Charles. Expires, date of birth 2020. Date of birth will be 1982-1127.
Ma'am, do you have a picture on the subject?
I have a question for you.
Well, take it by 2356.
Me or him?
For you, I'll ask him as well. But my first question is to you, and that is your body cam running?
It is. That's why I don't understand why you're making it harder than what it is, sir. You do agree that we're here, you do agree that we're patrolling our area.
That is lawful, yes.
And we do need to understand who we're dealing with when we make a stop, sir.
Right. Articulated, reasonable suspicion to stop someone is a Terry versus Ohio stop. Okay? I'm not arguing with that part. But then once you demand ID in this state, you have to already have probable cause for a primary charge. Do you have probable cause for a primary charge? That's the question.
Well, you made it that way when you refused to ID yourself.
No, sir. You are claiming you have probable cause for failure to ID, but that is not how it works in this state. You cannot have probable cause for that statute until you have a probable cause for a primary.
Well, you're a suspicious subject, sir.
That is not a statute.
I understand what you're saying. It's not a statute, okay? But that gives us further investigation.
Exactly, and that's what Terry versus Ohio is. That's why I'm here in handcuffs. This is a Terry stop.
Well, if I can confirm who you are,
1023.
we wouldn't be here.
Okay, well,
you would have been gone a long time ago, sir.
and you know what? No disrespect, but that's what all the law enforcement I've dealt with throughout my life, in and outside of Texas, has said. You're making this hard on yourself. You would have been gone. But you have to understand that for me, this is a big deal. I do not want to surrender my papers unless the law forces me to, unless the law mandates that I'm supposed to.
So therefore, you're grouping every single law officer in the same category.
I wish you wouldn't look at it like that, because
that's what it feels like. But I mean,
well,
that's your
again,
opinion.
you shouldn't take it personally.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I'm just like, whatever situation that you've dealt with, now you brought it to this situation, and which is not
in an adversarial way, not in like, I hate you, so fuck you, or anything like that. It's just like, I'm trying to live within the bounds of the law, including the protections. Mm-hmm. Now, in this state, you do not have to identify, like I said, unless there's a probable cause for a primary charge. For example, if you have a probable cause for DWI, or, like I said, trespassing, burglary, anything, then, yes, if I did not identify at that point, I would be in violation of a second charge, Texas Penal Code 3802, failure to identify. That is Texas Penal Code 3802.
Lucille, Phonetic, Lincoln Union, Charles, Ida, Ocean.
I get it. You feel strongly about what you're standing up for. I get it.
Okay.
But I mean, you see my side of it too, right?
Well, I understand that this is where everything comes together, everything comes to a head. Law enforcement is trying to keep the public safe and work within the bounds of the law as you see them.
Even trying to keep you safe as well.
Right. And then now someone like me, who's standing on technicalities of the law, you don't know what to do, because you're like, well, we're just trying to protect this building from burglars. So I don't know what to say about that. All I know is the Texas legislature wrote the law the way they did, and I'm trying to live within it.